There were so few real midnight hits. The first one was El Topo.
The whole midnight phenomena actually started in the fall of 1970 with Alejandro Jodorowsky's El Topo.
We make El Topo and all the Mexican was laughing of me because I was making something for the world. He say, Mexican picture never go out of Mexico, you are crazy. The feeling was we need to sell to United States. In that time, I believe America, they are the most wise country. I have very romantic idea. They know what they are doing, no? When I make El Topo, we came to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Universal, and they was enthusiastic when they see that.
I hardly bleed. I do not resist the bullets. I let them pass through the emptiness of my heart.
But they say we cannot sell this picture. We don't know how. And they say no, no, no. And then came Alan Douglas. He was underground, absolutely underground.
Timothy Leary, The Last Poets. I was doing Jimi Hendrix in 1970, and those are the products that we were making at the time. Alejandro told us about this film. He said that was very unique. And that I should take a look at it. I was blown away like everybody else. I then went to probably every distributor that existed. Everybody was, I think, too afraid of the film. It was a little bit too over the top.
We was really in a very bad situation.
Ben Barenholtz was the owner of the Elgin Theatre down on 19th and 8th Avenue.
I began getting the idea that I could utilize the theater for midnight screenings. One day I went to see a film at the Museum of Modern Art. It was El Topo. They informed me that the film had been sold to a fellow named Alan Douglas.
Ben said, well, why don't you put it in the theater? Why don't you put it in the Elgin at midnight after all my shows are over?
And he, through the haze of smoke, said, okay.
Today you are 7 years old. Now you are a man. Bury your first toy and your mother's picture.
It was the first picture show at midnight.
The total campaign consisted of a little ad.
Tonight at midnight, El Topo. This only we have to advertise it. And from mouth to ear, the public came every night.
We opened on a Tuesday night, and by Wednesday night there were lines around the corner. And it just didn't stop. It went on and on and on.
It was astonishing how quickly people knew about that movie, how fast that became a thing.
There are people who saw El Topo 30 times, 25 times. I have a lot of admirers who went every night to see that.
Within a few weeks, we were selling out the 600-seat theater every night. There were just lines around the corner. It became the thing to do.
Dennis Hopper, Peter Fonda would show up, Warhol people.
It's incredible, no? It's really incredible. It's against the system. Was against the system.
The Elgin was a sort of a hippie theater. You could smoke pot in the Elgin.
You'd walk into the theater and it was very electric. Of course, very smoky. You just inhale a few times and you'd be stoned.
The excitement came not only from the film, but from the audience. And it was like being in a den of cinematic iniquity. Being in this crowd of people, all going completely out of their minds, was something that was very unique.
It was launched at midnight without money and strictly depending on word of mouth, and without critics. They could write articles. Vincent Canby, the chief critic of the Times, did come to see it at midnight.
New York Times received so great amount of letters against the critic, they need to give a whole page speaking good of El Topo. because the public react against.
The Glenn O'Brien piece that ran in the Village Voice, I mean, he explicitly described it in terms of midnight mass at the Elgin Theatre.
It was always the marijuana cloud, always they give me cigarette of marijuana, always they applaud this. It was some kind like a ceremony, night ceremony.
You shall protect us, O Lord!
It was sold as a ritual experience, as a trip.
You shall protect us, O Lord! God loves us and protects us.
I put mystical things. I put a person who is searching himself. I put a bandit who realized his violence and became a saint. Suddenly I didn't have a Western. I have some kind of Eastern.
There were a number of things that El Topo had going for it. It was far out. It was very arcane. It was some kind of very bloody, overtly ritualistic Western. El Topo was a very violent film also, even for the period.
It was violence with a soul, violence with a rhythm. It had violence that was shocking. I've seen lots of people run out of the theater because they couldn't handle it.
There were shock scenes in it that you couldn't believe you were watching. Didn't it have a lot of killing of animals in it?
It's so extreme, you need to laugh about that, no?
In El Topo, it's like the freaks fight back. This guy comes out there and like destroys the town, and that was new. You didn't see Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda, you know, dispatching those rednecks. I mean, they were just victims.
I hate everything which is normal. What they call normal, I hate. This monster side, I like it. I like this feeling of the monstrosity as a part of life. It's a beautiful part of life.
The film actually ran for 6 months, 7 nights a week.
It became a very, very successful midnight movie film. Not only successful from an audience point of view, successful from a critical point of view.
I was a celebrity rock person. I didn't understand why. It was some kind of mythical El Topo.
Many of the people were coming 2 and 3 times.
Movies like El Topo are just so visually alive that you can see them over and over like an album, like you listen to an album.
John Lennon came at least 2 times with Yoko Ono.
John Lennon liked the picture. It was a very good friendship.
When I got an urgent call, you must go to Alan Klein's office immediately because John Lennon and Yoko are there and they want to see you, right, about El Topo.
Lennon told Alan Klein to buy the film, and they took it away from the Elgin, and after a 6-month run.
He put up this billboard in Times Square that was as large as 5 buildings.
You cannot show in theater, great theater, it's a mistake.
He put it into a local Times Square theater, 5 shows a day starting at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Be prepared to live the most wonderful experience of your life. El Topo is more than spectacle.
It got blown out in 3 days. In 3 days it was all over, right? And El Topo lost all of its theatrical value.
The aura was gone.
They could have brought it back and given it back to me and put it back on at midnight. It would still have worked.
But I am happy because I am in history. I am the creator of midnight movies. Happiness.
Exhibitors realized well before the end of El Topo's run at the Elgin that there was an audience for midnight movies.
The hipper theaters around the country began showing films at midnight.
And then became, you know, the great search for the next El Topo.